about linking those applications and taking advantage of that data? I mean, just stay with you for a second, Conor.
Sure.
Have you, and I assume you have, really successfully linked all of the applications that you do have, even where you do have on-point applications?
Yeah.
What challenges did you have to overcome, or did your organisation have to overcome to get to that point? Or what are challenges do you still continue to have?
We had our fair degree of spaghetti, point-to-point solutions of information flowing backwards and forwards. So again, a two-pronged strategy. So APIs are huge for us. So re-engineering our application estate, microservices with the API engine, and we're processing about 400 million API calls a month at the moment. I mean, it's huge scale. And then we want the traditional EDI, XML transactions, but still need to be managed and monitored on a real-time basis. But they are different technologies for different reasons at different price points. So I think the commercial aspect has to come into that debate. So I think we mentioned earlier, data is a consideration, cost is a consideration, security is a consideration. There's lots of I've got about 18 data points when I'm evaluating an application and the applicability of it.
Yeah.
And the variables change based on our risk appetite and our price point. We're trying to sell something in the marketplace.
Very
so
good.
It's quite a complex equation that we're trying to solve.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're consistent as IT communities at agreeing a standard model for that.
Yeah.
It's down to us to try and come up with what's worked for us previously.
Yeah, very good. And Oliver, you must see lots of this with the clients that you work with.
Yeah.
Do you think, do you see lots of clients with lots of challenges to overcome? Some of the challenges we've already talked about, the legacy suite, but in particular, those sort of that application integration and integration of data. Is that something you see lots?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually in previous roles, I've been an API architect and middleware architect, enterprise architect for integration. So in a couple of places actually. So this is something I've lived and breathed. And I think it's still a challenge. And I think the trouble is there's been lots of attempts. That you mentioned EDI, and then there was. SOAP came along, and then there was REST, and so now it's kind of even more dynamic. With webs and web applications and mobile apps. Things are really kind of evolving in this space. And I think the challenge a lot of organisations face is just what is the data model? Going back to data, what is the data model of the organisation? How does all this stuff hang together? What do we have, and how does this data flow? I think it's some of that basic stuff is a challenge. And what I've seen is folks getting very excited about a particular technology, be it APIs or be it SOA or whatever it is, but forgetting actually before they even go there, they need to understand what the business flow, what's the business process flow, what's the core data that's critical for the organisation, and what data do you care less about, and then focusing your application integration efforts on what's actually really, really useful to the organisation. I was at an energy company for a couple of years, and we had to deal with data flows around nominating power stations to turn on and turn off, and some of that was really, really time critical. But there was other data flows, perhaps employee records, far less priority. Yes, we need to update the HR system, but once a day is enough.
Yeah.
We need to update the power grid. We need to update that in milliseconds. So it's kind of understanding what's critical for the business in terms of data and application flows, and what's less priority.
I think you touched on a really good point there that we often forget, which is the business architecture and the business flow.
Yep.
Is so important. And the last 2 assignments I've been in financial services, I feel as if I've gone back 10, 15 years. When I came from the logistics industry, low margin business, boy, they got business process.
Yes.
And it was documented, everyone loved it, and continuing improvement was really embraced.
Mm-hmm.
Come to financial services,
and
I don't think they can spell business process.
Okay, good.
You mentioned at the start.
We don't have any of those on the table. Just looking at them. We're fine. There's nobody on here.
So I think if you want to take control of the conversation around how is the business changing, or what's reshaping within, not just within your function but across the entire enterprise, then I think data is one of your key weapons. That's how you start to look at opportunities to make changes, which are also information which can be provided to other areas of the business for them to see what they can do. Yeah. But you are a key conduit in understanding what data you need and how that's presented and how well it's presented and how real time is it, how important is it to be real time. Sometimes it's not important, sometimes it is. Those conversations are what people look to the technology function. Now, there might be other areas of the business that they know what question to ask, which is just as important. but it's you need to be able to get a hold of that and understand how you would deliver the answer to that critical question.
Sure.
I think the first question to ask, though, is where is your data and what do you have? Because I think a lot of enterprises don't actually have a good grasp of that. They know that there's value in their data and they keep saying that, but actually, where is it? What does it mean? And how many threats and risks are sitting in that data? Because actually, the amount of personal information and potential other issues that are sitting inside an enterprise is quite scary.
Yeah.
So I think that needs to be tackled first, because that's where you're going to have your biggest impact if something goes wrong. Sure.